You okay, Dad?
No, I had to walk 5 blocks.
They have valet parking.
I ain't paying for it. I'm not paying for that either.
Don't worry about it. It's all on me. So, living by yourself is going all right?
Oh, man, never better. Since I left your mother, I got 2 new roommates. Peace and quiet.
That's good, because bitching and moaning are still over at Mom's.
Welcome back to Third Culture, where we dive into the hidden gems and untold stories of Hollywood. Today, we're breaking down an unaired pilot that most fans of Bernie Mac may not even know existed. In 2008, the legendary comedian filmed a pilot for a sitcom called Starting Under, a project that, unfortunately, never got picked up by a network. What happened to this lost show? Why wasn't it given a chance? And most importantly, would fans have loved it? Join us as we break down the story behind Starting Under, why it never saw the light of day, and what it says about Bernie Mac's career in his final years. The unaired pilot Starting Under, starring Bernie Mac, was filmed in 2008 but never picked up for a full series. The premise of the show centered around Bernie Mac playing a man who, after losing his job, begins a new life and career in a completely different field. It was essentially a comedy about a man starting fresh, with the typical Bernie Mac style of humor and social commentary woven in. The premise was fresh, considering Bernie Mac had already carved out his niche in the world of comedy and television with his own hit series, The Bernie Mac Show, which had wrapped up 2 years earlier in 2006. It seemed like an exciting new direction for Mac's career, exploring a new character in a new setting. But there were many factors that ultimately led to its downfall. One of the major reasons Starting Under wasn't picked up was network concerns. The pilot faced a challenge in the competitive TV market, with networks unsure of how the show would perform. Bernie Mac was already a household name thanks to his stand-up comedy and his groundbreaking sitcom. But Starting Under was a departure from the type of role audiences were used to seeing him in. He had been known for his larger-than-life comedic persona, and while that carried a lot of weight, this new show was a shift into a more subdued premise, which might have left people unsure. The network may have felt the concept wasn't as solid as they hoped, especially given the competition from other sitcoms already airing at the time. The show's creative direction also contributed to its failure to get picked up. While Bernie Mac's talent was undeniable, Starting Under didn't have a strong enough hook. The concept of a man rebuilding his life after a job loss is something that had been explored in many other sitcoms before. The network might have felt that this was too familiar and didn't offer anything particularly fresh or groundbreaking in the crowded television landscape. The story felt like it could have been interchangeable with a lot of other sitcoms on air at that time. It lacked the unique appeal that made The Bernie Mac Show stand out with its personal yet humorous take on family life. This may have been a big part of why it didn't get picked up. Some felt that Starting Under was too conventional compared to the more inventive shows that were dominating television during that era. It was almost as if Bernie Mac's immense talent and charisma weren't enough to carry a series that lacked a stronger identity. At the time of the pilot, Bernie Mac's career was still thriving. But sadly, his unexpected passing on August 9, 2008, cut this project short. After the pilot was filmed, Bernie Mac passed away due to complications from pneumonia, and the show never had the chance to be developed into a full series. This tragic loss not only marked the end of Starting Under, but also the end of a remarkable career for one of comedy's most iconic performers. Even if the network had shown interest in the pilot, the series likely would have faced an uphill battle without Bernie Mac's irreplaceable presence to carry it forward. Fans who had enjoyed Bernie Mac's style on The Bernie Mac Show would have likely been curious to see him in something new, but it's possible that Starting Under wouldn't have been able to hold their interest. It's easy to see how the show would have drawn in viewers who enjoyed Bernie Mac's unique comedic style, but for it to have long-term staying power, it needed more than just his star power. While Bernie Mac's charm and comedic timing were still very much present in Starting Under, the show didn't quite hit the mark. The writing was decent, but it didn't quite live up to the sharp wit and social commentary that Mac was known for. The comedy in Starting Under was more conventional, and while it did have some funny moments, it didn't break new ground. It was a show that could have had potential, but simply didn't have the spark needed to become something bigger. Would fans have enjoyed it? Well, it's possible, but it's hard to say how long the interest would have lasted. Fans who were looking for something similar to The Bernie Mac Show might have initially tuned in, but if the premise didn't evolve or offer anything new in terms of storytelling, it likely would have worn thin quickly. The concept of a man starting over after losing his job is relatable, but it's also something that's been done before, and without a distinct angle, it might not have stood out. Critics and viewers who caught the pilot seemed to share this sentiment. They appreciated Bernie Mac's performance, but felt the show itself lacked the depth and originality necessary to be successful in the long run. The show wasn't able to capture the essence of what made Bernie Mac's comedy so beloved, which was his ability to take everyday situations and turn them into hilarious yet insightful moments. Starting Under had moments of potential, but they weren't enough to make it stand out. With its focus on a conventional storyline, it felt more like a standard sitcom rather than something special or new. Even with Bernie Mac's involvement, the show didn't stand out enough to make a lasting impression. Looking back, it's clear that the show's fate was tied to the timing and market conditions at the time. The pilot was essentially a risk for the network, and unfortunately, it just didn't resonate with them. It wasn't a bad show, but it wasn't a breakout hit either. It's one of those shows that could have been better with more time to develop, but due to the network's concerns and the lack of a unique angle, it never saw the light of day. It's unfortunate because Starting Under could have been a different kind of comedy for Bernie Mac, but it simply didn't connect with the audience in the way it needed to. Instead, it serves as a reminder of the cutthroat nature of the entertainment industry, where even talented stars like Bernie Mac can face the challenge of getting their projects picked up. In the end, Starting Under is an interesting what-if in the legacy of Bernie Mac. While the show never made it to series, the pilot remains a testament to Bernie Mac's commitment to pushing his creative boundaries, even in the later stages of his career. If you've never heard of Starting Under before, now you know the story of a project that could have been another chapter in Bernie Mac's incredible career but ultimately became a footnote in the history of TV comedy. Thanks for watching, and let us know in the comments what you think. Would you have watched Starting Under if it had been picked up? Do you think the show had potential? Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives like this one.